From Keene in the Shire, the Liberty Media capital of the world, this is Daryl W. Perry, host of FPP Radio News for Thursday, December 18th, 2014. Silver is trading at $16.12 per ounce. Gold is valued at $1,206 per ounce. And according to BitcoinAverage.com, the average price of Bitcoin is $310. Antiwar.com reports Palestinian officials announced yesterday that they have submitted a resolution to the UN Security Council by way of Jordan, seeking to end the Israeli occupation of the West Bank. The resolution has been talked about for weeks, with Israel heavily lobbying for a U.S. veto, and reports that Secretary of State John Kerry has already told the Palestinians that such a veto is coming. That isn't the end of it, however, as Palestine has the backing of the European Union on the matter, and France is leading a diplomatic effort to forward an alternative, watered-down version that will be more difficult for the U.S. to veto outright. The Palestinian version seeks an Israeli withdrawal within 2 years, while the French version only pushes for a resumption of peace talks within that time. The Israeli government has expressed equal measure of outrage at both versions. For over 35 years, Robertson Roberts has been a trusted source for buying and selling your investment-grade precious metals. They also take Bitcoin for precious metal purchases and permanently removed the minimum purchase order for all orders paid in the digital currency. Call Robertson Roberts today for knowledgeable advice on investing and a forward-thinking approach to new technologies. 850-478-5270 or online at rrbi.co. UPI reports George Stinney Jr., who was 14 when he died in South Carolina's electric chair 70 years ago, was cleared Wednesday of killing 2 young girls. Circuit Judge Carmen Mullen found fundamental constitutional violations of due process in Stinney's one-day trial before an all-white jury. During a 2-day hearing in January, Mullen said she could not determine if the boy was guilty or innocent, only if the proceedings were fair. Mullen said, "Given the particularized circumstances of Stinney's case, I find by a preponderance of the evidence standard that a violation of the defendant's procedural due process rights tainted his prosecution." Stinney was the youngest person to be executed in the United States, at least in the 20th century, was so small he had to sit on a book when he was strapped into the electric chair. He was put to death 81 days after Betty June Binnicker and Mary Emma Thames were killed in the small town of Alcolu, South Carolina. The only real evidence against the boy was a confession he allegedly gave police officers after hours of questioning without his parents or a lawyer present. He was alone during the trial because his family had been warned that they would be lynched if they remained in the town. No written record of the confession was presented during the trial, and a historian named George Frierson, who has been fighting to clear Stinney, said he has been unable to find a written copy of the confession. Stinney later denied confessing. Bitcoin Not Bombs is a launching pad for nonprofits and social entrepreneurs into the financial freedom of the Bitcoin economy. Bitcoin Not Bombs offers premium publicity campaigns designed to facilitate an organization's adoption of Bitcoin as a payment system. Bitcoin Not Bombs is fully committed to being the hub of the nonprofit sector of the Bitcoin economy, maximizing the potential cross-promotion of all our clients and commercial partners. To learn more, visit bitcoinnotbombs.com. Reuters reports the United States and Cuba agreed on Wednesday to restore diplomatic ties that Washington severed more than 50 years ago, and President Barack Obama called for an end to the long economic embargo against its old Cold War enemy. After 18 months of secret talks, Obama and Cuban President Raul Castro agreed in a phone call on Tuesday on a breakthrough prisoner exchange, the opening of embassies in each other's countries, and an easing of some restrictions on commerce. The two leaders made the announcement in simultaneous televised speeches. The Vatican and Canada facilitated the deal. Obama's call for an end to the economic embargo drew resistance from Republicans who will control both houses of Congress from January and who oppose normal relations with the communist-run island. Obama says he was ending what he called a rigid and outdated policy of isolating Cuba that had failed to achieve change on the island. His administration's policy shift includes an opening to more commerce in some areas, allowing use of U.S. credit and debit cards, increasing the amount of money that can be sent to Cubans, and allowing export of telecommunication devices and services. This has been FPP Radio News, online at fppradio.com.